It is Monday the 20th of April, otherwise known as Playoff Monday. We are somehow gathered in the pub and it's time for the Cat's Whiskers podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are gathered in the off-season pub to bring together our thoughts on seasons past, the playoff final weekends that some of us have just witnessed, and any other bits and bobs and talking points that may come along the way. So around the table we have Ant.
Heyo.
We have Jono.
Evening.
We have Adam.
Hello.
And we have our Belfast correspondent, Noel Gillespie.
Howdo.
Right. Gentlemen, none of our teams were actually involved in playoff finals weekend, so we had a relatively stress-free weekend. So I suppose that's the first point to mention. So watching a weekend of playoff hockey where most of us in our immediate group we're not sort of heavily invested in the hockey, and hashtag on loan to bunkers kind of thing was probably more appropriate. So just a quick recap. The first semi-final was Cardiff versus Glasgow, and that ended with a Devils win 3-1. Sheffield Steelers versus the Manchester Storm, eagerly anticipated by our mate Aidan. And that ended as a 6-0 win in the Steelers' favour, which then led to the Hangover Cup being the Manchester Storm and the Glasgow Clan, an all-purple affair, and the final being the Cardiff Devils and the Sheffield Steelers. And it's fair to say Cardiff did not activate bridesmaid mode for a change. I think it's fair to say that there was a fair bit of support for the Devils. The Steelers obviously had their poster up at the back of their blocks. No one likes us, we don't care. Whoever Noon is. But they were fully. I think they were fully aware that they were on their own in this in that little enterprise.
Not everybody. I just wanted both teams to lose.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I was working out how we could sneak in some antifreeze water bombs. Yeah. just
There was a hierarchy. There was a hierarchy of who you wanted. So for me, it was Manchester, then Glasgow, then Cardiff, then the ice plant failing, the ice melting, and it all got called off. Then the Steelers.
You missed World War III.
Actually, a bit surprised the Steelers even made that list, to be fair.
yeah, definitely. When it comes to a list of who Jono wants to win, I'm shocked that Steelers are on it.
I've said many times before, I don't want them to win a face-off.
Well, I mean, they did win a couple of face-offs. I think it was probably. I think we can probably say that. I've not done any stats for the weekend or anything. I've not input any of this into my spreadsheet yet. But I think I could be reasonably confident in that they did win a face-off. Sorry, Jono, I do apologise. On behalf of the Cardiff Devils organisation, they didn't do good. They didn't do a good enough job in upholding your core values. Adam is not able to really comment on the first semi-final because he was busy watching Notts lose, unfortunately. How was that for you, Adam?
Oh, why did you have to ask me that? I just managed to get that out of my memory.
You should not have the Pope costume on.
I should have dressed as the Pope for that game instead of derobing just before leaving to go to the game and then putting the costume back on upon my return.
Yeah, it might have helped. They were doing some more prayers sent your way. The first semi-final, I think it probably went as most people expected. I think, we were all hoping for something different. We were all hoping that, one of the purple teams would have come out victorious. But of the two games, that was obviously the closer one. the first semi-final. Glasgow, unfortunately, you could see that they were trying. There was a lot of effort, but not a lot of end product. Unfortunately, they didn't really trouble Christian Stover too much.
But they won Mascot of the Year again, so they're happy. Entertainment franchise.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, they've got rid of the wall now, haven't they? So. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but yeah. Well, I did hear somebody this weekend calling them the Panthers B team, and I mean, I know they used to object to being called the Panthers' little sister, but Corey Nielsen did a fair bit of recruiting through Panthers who did not get re-signed. Go on.
The Neil Black Wall of Fame up there, maybe.
Yeah, the Neil Black Wall of Fame, love it. Yeah. Second semi-final of the day, Sheffield basically steamrolled Manchester. I mean, within our group we do have Manchester Storm announcer Aidan Millen, and we've spoken to him a few times around this game, and he was really looking forward to being Manchester being at playoff finals weekend, because I think he said it's been something like 24 years since they've made playoffs, which when you eagerly anticipate something as much as that, and then you have to sit through your team getting thrashed 6-0, that is awful. I really felt for him.
I thought the game was great. I went to the loo, came back, abused the DJ, abused one of the bar staff, saw Garnacho falling over on the floor. I had a happy time.
I'm sure you did, but we're not talking about that Manchester team, mate. You were invested in a whole different kind of Manchester. I especially felt sorry personally for Drew de Ridder. I think he was his usual self. He was, he prevented that game going into double figures, and I think the last two goals that Steelers scored, which I felt like were carbon copies, they were sort of almost they'd worked it over to the back door and shot it over his shoulder, and I think at that point he basically sort of thought, well, I'm not getting any help, so why should I carry on trying? And those last two goals, I think they kind of went in because he just felt like he was defeated. Again, not saying that Storm didn't try, but there just was not any end product. The Steelers seemed to have a game plan, and Storm just didn't. Or if they did, Steelers obviously disrupted it so much that they just couldn't get their game plan into effect.
Yeah. Well, I seem to recall the shots on goal were heavily one-sided, weren't they, in Sheffield's favour, and it did seem like de Ridder was doing a lot of hard work in that game. I mean, it's the old sort of phrase, it did seem like the ice was tilted a little bit, and I felt sad as well for Storm fans that were there. Obviously, our mate Aidan obviously was looking forward to it immensely. And he was a little bit down about it, understandably, but it's not that Storm weren't trying, because they were, but I just think Sheffield figured them out very, very easily and early in that game, and I hate giving Sheffield credit for anything, but I think
preach, brother.
Yeah, but Aaron Fox had clearly done his homework on Manchester. And I think what made it interesting for us actually was we'd, a week before, less than a week before, sat and watched a game where the Storm gave absolutely everything to make it through to the Final Four against us. Yep. And I thought, well, are we going to see that sort of Storm again in their semi-final? But it was sort of like a pale imitation of that team. Again, I want to stress they were trying, but they just didn't have any answers. They had no answers on the night, and Sheffield won at pretty much a canter.
Yeah, most definitely.
I was going to say, I think as the game wore on, you sort of saw that was passing on breakouts and through the neutral zone. There's a lot of Manchester, like the puck was going in front of, behind of the stick. Wasn't Sheffield were kind of tape to tape. Manchester seemed to be an awful lot of, whether gripping the stick too tight, all that kind of stuff. Maybe, I don't know, but. As you say, the effort was there, but it wasn't just clinical enough, and Sheffield clamped them down and never really got. It didn't seem like Manchester were creating a lot of zone time. They didn't seem to be getting in a lot, and when they were, it was sort of one and done and back out again. So they weren't really. The effort was there, but it just
Yeah.
what's happening.
I think, was it a case of for this weekend, for both games really, it's like you've got two teams there that made the final in Cardiff and Sheffield who are used to playing in these big games, and maybe that came into it a little bit, but I mean, Manchester, they were so good against us, and it's I genuinely am gutted for them that they just couldn't find that extra level one more time. It is what it is, and you just you learn from it and you go on, and it would be interesting to see what sort of turnaround they get now. Are the, in inverted quotes, bigger teams going to come looking for a couple of their players? We don't know. Is Critchlow staying on? Because he'll obviously be in demand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this just sort of latching on to one of the points you made there, about turnaround of players and everything. You do tend to find that the rink teams will get poached by they'll have players poached by the arena teams. So it just sort of depends, how they feel like they fit in the team, how happy they are where they are, and if there's going to be any development around the team as well. I don't know, like you say, coaching and what have you. It's interesting, which kind of will lead us on to a point later on, because summer is looming. We've already had a bit of news of a Panthers flavour, but we'll come back to that in a second. We'll just continue on the train of playoff final weekend. I think we were just having a bit of a discussion earlier that I think only one of us actually made the Hangover Cup this year. No, two of us. Two of us. Sorry.
We had one that was commentating on it.
Yes, all right. No, okay, yeah, yes, Jono. I know you were commentating. You don't have to go on about it.
Bloody word. It was me that raised it.
No, I know, but but before I hit the button, you know what I mean. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Interesting game. Clearly, the players don't really want to be there because they'd rather be in the final later in the day.
Or in the pub the night before.
The one thing that struck me about the game this year was I thought the crowd was really good for it. It was, looking around the bowl, there weren't really that many empty seats as I looked out from block 16 towards the sort of, the officials area and that side of the ice. So, maybe it was because, you had Clan and Storm there and they wanted to sort of, see their teams one last time, to wish them well and send them on their way. Going back to the point you were just making about not knowing who's going to be back next season, but it did seem like a lot of other fans of other teams bought into that fourth place game. I don't quite know why. I actually went along because I'd not seen one fully for a long time, and I went along, and obviously you don't really want to get your hopes up with it because it's generally just two teams that are playing at second gear at most, and not a lot happens except lots of goals. But there wasn't even that this time around. There weren't even that many goals for Mr. Bullard just to my right to commentate on. But there did seem to be effort there. It wasn't just like one of these crazy games that end 10-8 or 13-10 or whatever. I tell
you what, the bookies would have been very surprised, or anybody making a bet.
Very happy, I'm sure.
Well, I know. I mean, I don't know whether the two teams have played hard to try and sort of appease the betting industry there, because that was the most guaranteed bet in the world, wasn't it? In previous playoff finals.
Yeah, it's always known. You always bet the unders in these things, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, just before I forget as well, Jono, I hear you missed a golden opportunity to have a little bit of a regression when it came to commentating on the goals.
Hey.
Yeah. Hugo, wow!
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yes, it's the first goal I've called for him since he left the Panthers, and I did have to think. I looked and he said, back stick is Hugo. I thought, back stick, Hugo War. And it's Hugo War scores. when you're calling a game, two teams you don't normally call for, you have to sort of play it down the middle a bit. So it would have been nice to give it the old but no, not this time, unfortunately. No, it was a good. I enjoyed it. Good game to commentate on. Tyler Hynam stormed forward with me for the first 2 periods, and he was absolutely great. Gave some really good insight. And then Devon Sidoroff with me for the third period from the clan. Gave me some great insight. So always good to have players who are involved with the two teams, because they can give the stuff that you don't know about, and of course, with it being the game it was, you could also elaborate a lot more on stuff that you can in a normal sort of fast-paced Elite League game. So I really actually enjoyed the game. It was great to see Connolly get his first professional goal as well. It's a player I put on Twitter earlier. He's a player I've followed a lot since juniors. He was pointed out to me when he was sort of 11 years old by Seth Bennett as this sort of great goal scorer coming through, given a promising football career to play hockey, and it's paying dividends for him now as he and it's like, I remember this sort of little lad, and now he's like massive. So he's like, and scored a beautiful goal as well, really, really well taken. It doesn't matter what the game is. If you score a goal like that, where it's straight over the blocker of an import netminder into a postage stamp space into the roof of the net, really, really good finish. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he progresses. I think he has the potential to be one of the best British forwards over the next few years. I think certainly.
Yeah, so we look forward to him popping up at the Sheffield Steelers soon. Sorry, go on.
Just a wee quick thing about something Adam said. You're saying about the attendance.
Yeah.
We found a beer garden on the Sun, so we didn't quite make it this time. But I've been to the last 2 or 3 years as a Fairport. The attendances for it seem to be actually pretty good most years now. It used to be you would go and there would be half a rink and people were not really watching and this, that, the other, but it actually seems to be quite well attended nowadays. So
I think it was about 3/4 full. Quite easily 3/4 full.
But just say, it seems to me that seems to be something that's, whether it's newer fans coming in that just want to go and see hockey, whatever it is, or what, I don't know. But
to be fair to the fans of both teams, they were making a lot of noise. They obviously got over the disappointment to some degree of the teams being knocked out the previous night and a day, but it was nice to see, good to see. So much purple though, everywhere. I mean, I don't know if the arena will need a deep clean to remove it of all of the purple that we saw over the weekend, but no, it was just...
It was like a Cadbury's wrapper. It was. all the chocolate bars are available.
Yeah.
Hashtag purple bronze medal game.
Yeah, it wasn't. We want. You can say we wanted a purple final. We got a purple hangover cup.
Yeah. No, look, it was nice. I mean, of course, I'm disappointed that Panthers weren't there. But every now and then, you like to see and I don't mean this with any disrespect, the smaller teams, even though, Glasgow are an arena team, it's a small arena. Manchester, have had a phenomenal season, really. They've punched above their weight a lot. I know they sort of fell away slightly towards the end of the season, but, to make the Final Four, really, really good. And I think they've got a really promising coach there. And I think Jono alluded to it a few minutes ago, but... he could well be a man in demand in the next, 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, he's young. I mean, literally just sort of stepped out of his skates and behind the bench, and he's made that transition seamlessly almost.
The thing with him is Storm's in his blood.
Yeah.
He played there for quite a few seasons. He clearly has a lot of love and affection for the club, and he's just a genuinely nice, passionate guy who wants to do the best that he can, and he's done a great job in his first season. And I'd like to think he'll stay on for at least another season in Manchester, and who knows where he can take them.
They've got the new rink being built, aren't they, at Trafford Park?
I mean, I think that's been approved now, so that's probably 2 or 3 seasons away, possibly.
So, they've got something to build towards, but it
really would be nice to get them out of that, because they've had so many sellouts this season that they have obviously got an opportunity for expansion. It would be nice to see them in a building that actually that you can see the entire bloody ice pad for starters.
Well, I mean, we also know we know how hard Aidan works as well. You know, we've got a lovely video of him from last weekend shaking his tushy.
He does a mean Gangnam Style, doesn't he?
But I mean, from the top down, they've bought into it now, aren't they? And they seem to be a club on the up. So yeah, good luck to them, but not good luck so they overtake us.
Well, I mean, look, if their good luck means them continually knocking us out of playoff finals weekend, then sod off. You can stay in that goddamn little shelter. Yeah. When it came to the final, like I said earlier, Sheffield were very much alone in their support of their team. I don't think there were going to be many people who wanted them to win.
Would they want it any other way?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose after a while it does get a little bit tired. However, I mean, for me personally, that's one of those finals that, you know, if somebody had said to me, who do you want to win? I'd have said, that's like asking me if I want to have the plague or Ebola. I really don't. I was not invested either way, but obviously we do have that deep-seated rivalry with Sheffield. So, you know, that does make a difference. And the fact that the proximity, of the Motorpoint Arena from Sheffield, and obviously, you know, it's our home arena, there's a bigger concentration of us than them. And it kind of, even though, you know, Panthers weren't there, it's a rivalry that's always kind of brewing. So it's always bubbling. It's always there. I mean, you know, while they were, you know, busy thrashing Manchester, they're busy singing away, "Where's the Nottingham Panthers?" And it's like, just get over it. You know, you're playing the Manchester Storm. Just, you know, move on. It's just, it's quite annoying in a way, I have to say. You know, just focus on the game that's in front of you instead of the fans that, you know, who were, so, you know, turning up basically to support a team that isn't there. Speaking of teams that aren't there, Noel, by a bit of a quirk, you ended up sat amongst us Panthers fans. So, how was that for you?
Don't know what you're talking about. We were in final.
Please don't do that again.
Well, full disclosure, there was maybe a little bit of a return of the Teal Alliance in some quarters. You're saying about no one support. I wouldn't say I was supporting Sheffield, but Tomo tortured us for a lot of years with Coventry. So. Yeah, no, I was a good. Yeah, I thought. Let's say it seemed to be Cardiff pretty much dominated the first period.
Yeah.
Sheffield really pushed back and more. I wouldn't say dominated, but not far off it. Maybe the second period, and just. I was talking to a few Sheffield fans we know, and they said that all year it's been a couple of things that have really hurt them, is it's conceding goals late in periods and conceding in bunches. Yeah. And there you go. That's kind of what happened at the end of that second period.
And that was late in the second period. And the thing is, it was an awful turnover as well. You know, what was the thing? All he had to do was just rim it around the boards and out, and that was it.
I think I looked in with 2.6 seconds left or something in the period or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so...
And that's the worst time to concede. In that sort of minute leading up towards the end of a period, that is the worst, because you then go into the dressing room feeling very, very different about the upcoming periods, you know, or you know, the next, you know, part of the game that you have to play.
Yeah, we know all about that in Belfast. A couple of years ago, 23-24 team had a real habit of last minute goals, kind of just seemed to turn off a wee bit, and we were conceding in the last minute an awful lot. Hurt us quite a bit. So.
Interesting. I'm not making notes for Danny Stewart at all.
We won the league this year as a different team. I was going to say, then I think the third period, I think it was very similar to how Cardiff played against. I mean, I wouldn't say they shut down Sheffield, but they had a lot of obviously scored, but it was the same sort of thing. The Sheffield were struggling to get over the blue line at times. Cardiff, just as like Glasgow in the first game, played well, but just couldn't get good possession in the zone. And Sheffield, I think they did a bit, but at the same thing, they just kind of, the times just couldn't get across it, and then obviously they got the third one.
Yeah, I think Cardiff exercised a lot of patience in that third period, because I remember thinking to myself at one point that or I don't know if I said it out loud. I said you can't just keep fending them back for the last 5 minutes. But they were just biding their time. They were just looking for good opportunities as opposed to trying to force an opportunity that wasn't there. And that's kind of how I felt about that third period. And I think it was a very sensible way for them to play. And it obviously worked because Sheffield just got more and more frustrated about about not being able to really set up in the offensive zone and not really get any systems going. I think to a certain extent Cardiff did to Sheffield in that third period what Sheffield had done to the Storm all game the previous day. So it was almost them getting a taste of their own medicine, I suppose. But yeah, absolutely did the job.
Well, can I just say, I think Sheffield's defeat was karma for their fans coming up with the worst chant I've ever heard at hockey, the Mitchell Hurd one, which is "Stop the Herd."
Well, it just kept irritating me because they were singing it instead of saying "can't stop the herd," they were saying "can't," like it was an American thing, and it just rattled the life out of me. I just sat there, just silently fuming.
I believe we would call them chant stealers because I believe that chant is "You can't stop Sandrock, you can't stop Sandrock" for Robbie Sandrock. Yeah. It's a long time ago. Yeah.
Hey, look, everybody steals everybody's chance. I mean, Cardiff have stolen more than one of ours.
Manchester, I think, only have one of their own.
Well, yeah, because
when the Blaze go skating in, I believe is not the Storm or Storm.
Well, yeah. Less said about Seven Nation Army, the better, because I've already upset Eden with that this week. So anyway, Cardiff Devils playoff final champions 2026. Congratulations. You gits. So potentially, depending on how things go, as things stand at the moment, the Elite League do not have an entrant in the CHL. However, I did see somewhere that there was another league yet to be announced. I don't know if I dreamed that up or something.
One of the so there's another Challenger League place to be announced, which I think there was something. I think is it Adam McKendry in the Belfast Telegraph. I think there was something from him saying that he strongly believes it is going to be the Elite League, so Belfast should get their place.
As it should be, because it was like year after year that we've been taking in it. The teams aren't getting pumped game in, game out anymore. Attendance wise alone, they're normally close to sellouts, these games and stuff, which we all obviously know the money counters, they like it from a visual aspect as well. It looks a lot better. It would be incredible to me that France have got one and we don't get one.
Well, I think of the 5 Challenger leagues, we rank second. Yeah. So why wouldn't you give us a spot?
Yeah. It is baffling.
I just wanted to come back slightly on the Cardiff and Sheffield final a bit. Where does this leave Aaron Fox now? Because
he's got another year on his contract. There's an interview with Tony Smith did with Pete Spencer in one of the intervals of the semi-final Storm game. And he's talking about Aaron Fox being a coach next season, so I don't think anything's going to change there.
But does Aaron Fox want to be in Sheffield next season? That's the main thing, because he might feel that he's just taken the club as far as he possibly can. Has he run out of ideas? I mean, that's 2 years now where they've not won a trophy. And the fans, are hungry for success. Oh no, Jono looks gutted about that.
Oh no, Fox in, I say.
Yeah, Fox in, but I think it's a valid question for Anne to ask because, Sheffield is just synonymous with winning trophies and titles. And, for them not to get anything for 2 years, is probably, considered to be a drought. Not for us, because we've had some lean times recently, but, for Sheffield, that organisation just seems to absolutely thrive on success. So, yeah. I mean, look, what happens if Steelers have a bad start next season? After 7 or 8 games.
Well, I mean, sorry, I know Noel and Jono, you're both desperate to come in, but I just want to answer to that, if they have a bad season, they will not hesitate to sack him, because, like you say, that is an organisation that wants success, and they're not afraid to make the big decisions to do it. So nobody's job is safe, and that includes Aaron Fox. So sorry, guys. We go on.
The other side to it, though, is that they say if he has a contract, he might think he's got unfinished business, and if they're happy to keep him, and he is also. The recruitment side of things, like he's picked up some very good players from the ICHL and all that kind of stuff. So, like, if he's bringing in players on a, budget-wise, we don't know, but the decent budget-wise, whatever, and that kind of thing, if Sheffield are happy to keep him, it just depends if it was what he thinks, whether, as you say, whether he does think he has enough, or whether he thinks no. He's been unlucky coming up against Adam Keefe every year.
Oh, here we go. Who invited you?
Just one point. No, I'm joking, but at the same time, someone put up all the trophies won. Like, if Kiefer wasn't, we were talking about this over the weekend, the sliding doors thing, that Keefe came in when he came in after sort of Todd Calman had went to Cardiff. If Todd Calman had stayed, would Keefe have been the coach? Would maybe not? Would someone else have come in? We were talking about that. That's one of the things we talked about over the weekend. The whole thing could be different. How much Keefe has done for our team, and is it that in another era, if something had to change, would Fox, would Panthers, would whoever have maybe picked up a league or two more than they would have? I've built such a team, and behind the scenes and everything as well. Does that happen in the same way? It's been, as I say, it's just something interesting we've been talking about. But when it comes to Fox, like, do Sheffield look at him and say he's done a good job, he just hasn't quite got over the hump? Apart from obviously when they won because he did win a Grand Slam as well, so it's not like it's unsuccessful.
He's still probably got credit in the bank from that. Because that's a big achievement. I just know how hungry for success they are. Right from the top, it really wouldn't surprise me if they didn't get off to a great start next season, that he's not around by Christmas next year. But look, as Noel just said, he's won a Grand Slam. He's got that on his CV. He will be an in-demand coach. I'm sure that there'll be teams outside of these shores that are probably looking at someone like Aaron Fox if he became available. So I don't think he'd be out of work for very long.
Well, just sorry, Jono, I will get to you, I promise. Just what sort of popped in my brain when you were saying there, we won a Grand Slam. It's like, well, Corey Nielsen won a Grand Slam, and then what was it? 2-3 seasons later, he was gone. And he then got picked up. And he's got off and coached and been successful in other places. So when you've got the pedigree, it's there, isn't it? So you have a bad season in one league, but you could go somewhere else, have a bit of a change and what have you. And
that's just professional sport. Yeah, that's the nature of professional sport.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sorry, Jono. I promise. The floor is yours for this moment.
Genuinely now, I think Aaron Fox is an excellent coach. I really think he is a very, very good coach, very experienced, has recruited some very, very good teams. But I think the thing is now that the top teams in the Elite League certainly are so close together that you can't win every game. And I think the biggest problem in Sheffield is the fact that their fans have such massive expectations, and they're not realistic. We see it at the start of every season about how they're going to pee the league and whatever, and which I think also adds to the sort of animosity towards them as a fan base and as a club as well, because they do give this air of arrogance and expectations and entitlement as well, and I think that's a massive problem, and I think that's what puts the pressure on Aaron Fox. If anybody sort of looks and takes a step back, they will see that's an excellent coach with a great CV who has them challenging every season. And this season will be regarded as not good for them. They finished fourth, but they got to the semis of the club. They got to the final of the playoffs. They're still up there. But the thing is, you've got Cardiff wanting the same. You've got Nottingham wanting the same. You've got Belfast, who are the gold standard at the minute when it comes to the league. Which they are. What is it? Five out of the last 6 you've won? Yeah. They are the absolute gold standard. And the fact that Belfast have got Adam Keefe and they've got a core of players who know exactly what needs to be be done and what it takes to win a league championship. But you've got these 4 teams who are so close together, they're all challenging. And that entitlement and expectation that the Steelers fans have needs to be tempered a little bit, I think.
Well, I mean, Panthers fans need to, we've had a couple of good seasons now, and we need to be careful we don't fall into that trap, to be honest.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Ant, I think I saw your hand up first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going again back to Fox. It's just that I just think personally at times the interviews that he's given this season, he looks like a beaten man. And like I say, whether the expectation is now got to the point where they are expected to win. It's in their DNA, as they keep telling us and what have you. But it's tough. I mean, Jono's already said it, and then we've talked about Manchester seemingly a team on the up. Who knows what this new ownership model is going to be like for Dundee next season?
It can't be any worse than this season. Let's be right.
So Coventry had a great run at one point this season and looked like they were going to be, almost getting themselves back into the mix again. Back like the Calder and Carlson days.
Steady on. I mean, I don't remember those days, but even I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Well, no, I think there's obviously there are things that hold the likes of Coventry back, but yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting off season, I think. Anyway, just across the league, I think we could be in for a lot of changes across the league this year.
I think we need to create new competitions so everyone can have trophies.
No, that's like having participation trophies for Sports Day, mate. It's just not a thing. Sorry,
I've been shot down there.
Yes, most definitely you have been shot down. Sorry, Noel, coming across to you.
No, just picking up what the other guy said. I was going to say what John said about the top 4 teams. But I'm saying every team in this league this year, really. I mean, even Dundee has Spencer Nass banging in goals. You've got 2 or 3 lines that can score stuff. So just to tie in with the entitlement side of things, like if there shouldn't be any entitlement to any team in the top 4 now. Any team can beat you on any given night. Hi Glasgow, well done. Well, I mean, genuinely, we talked about this. Glasgow were the team I actually wanted to play the least because they were on a half decent run, and because Mick Messner's one of the players I'd love to steal the most. Although he made a bit of a random back pass, defensive, terrible play in one of the games, but we'll not get that. But in the first time, but no, like there's guys up and down the league now that you would say, yeah, I'd have them in my team, which wasn't always necessarily as in your own team. Yeah. And I think the entitlement thing. I mean, we have it now a little bit, and it is. We see it a bit where there's sort of near fans coming in with Belfast. I just expect, they're going to win all the time, and any loss suddenly becomes a massive. Big, oh dear, get everyone out, this is terrible, blah blah blah. So I think every team in the league, as just to echo what Jono was saying, needs to, and you can, I think the last 3, 4, 5 years the league's been improving. So say the same thing happens again here, you're going to be tighter games, anyone can beat anyone. And again, Dundee, if Fife get their act together again, because Fife started not too bad the first few weeks of the season, and then we know what happened after that. So I mean, that just seems to be going from strength to strength that way. No one should be thinking every game, we've got this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Noel. And I mean, what I've noticed this year is crowds have just been phenomenal at most teams. There's been a real sort of surge in crowds, and we've seen it at Panthers. So many sellouts this year.
Well, I mean, just a little spoiler alert. I am in the process of putting together my yearly attendance article. There is only one team that is operating at a deficit in terms of attendance.
Yeah. I think the point I'm trying to make there is, following on from what Noel was saying about, no one really should get too entitled if you're in those, top 4 big clubs, if you want to call them that. It will be interesting if, say, Sheffield have a third season without a trophy, or if, Cardiff don't win anything next year, or, Belfast don't win anything next year, or even if we don't win anything next year, whether those crowds will still hold up.
We're winning the league next year.
You said we were winning the Super Slam, mate. I'm not holding you to that.
Half right.
So hang on. So we're winning we can't win half a league trophy, mate. It can't be done.
But yeah, I mean, the thing with crowds is, it's really hard to keep people in those seats because you've got to keep winning. Entertainment comes into the equation a little bit, and people need to enjoy the match night experience. But when all's said and done, winning hockey brings people in. And Belfast have got really, really strong crowds now. We've got incredibly strong crowds.
I think everybody has.
Everybody has.
A lot. I mean, a lot of teams are selling out their building, like Guildford, Manchester, Glasgow, Cardiff. I mean, they've been selling out for the past 4 seasons, pretty much every game.
Mm-hmm.
Us. I mean, we haven't had a league crowd below 6,000 since October. It's crazy numbers, and to the point where are a lot of venues now not big enough.
I was going to go on and make that point. Yeah,
Sorry, Adam.
Well, no. It's a very, very valid point. And you look at the limitations that there are in places like Guildford, where it's a very sort of tight, packed rink. Could they potentially play in like a 3,000-4,000 seat arena? I don't know. Guildford's had hockey in that town for 40 years now, so it is an established hockey town.
It is, but I think the location of the Spectrum really holds it back. I think it's a problem. You need to have a place that is well connected. And I just don't think. I mean, I've only been once, but I found it quite difficult to get to, and I suspect the home fans, having to do that week in, week out, it's going to put people off. It's going to put new fans off, certainly.
Yeah, but things like sight lines, vantage points, not great in that building.
No, not at all.
But the fact that they are now selling out every game shows that the fans sort of put up with the bad sight lines, and the same for Manchester as well in Altrincham. Although obviously longer term they're moving into a new building. So I suppose the point I'm saying is, because not every team can win everything, our crowd's going to continue to hold up the way they've held up the last 2 or 3 seasons, because it would only take one team to, like one of the bigger teams, to have a bad fallow few seasons, and then all that hard work to build the crowds back up drops away a little bit, and you're playing to 4,500-5,000 fans again a night in Nottingham. So I don't know, it's a challenge for everybody.
So guys, I just want to bring us back a little bit to some news that was announced in Kirkcaldy a few weeks ago. Well, probably less than that, actually. And I found this news quite surprising, actually, that Garrett Hunt has re-signed in Fife as the player assistant coach. And I'll be honest, I'm shocked. I didn't think that he would stay. I think there will be quite a bit of player turnover. I don't think there's going to be a lot of them that are going to fancy a return. But I think that's kind of it's positive, because they need something. They need an anchor in Fife. They've got a whole an anchor, Jono. You're not sorry though, are you?
Tickle me, sorry.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. Because
Might be in 10 minutes.
yeah. I don't see there being a lot of continuity in Fife, but they need something. They need a little piece to build from. I didn't see it being Garrett Hunt. I'll be honest. So obviously the ownership team as it exists now, they are. I don't know. They are. They're serious, and they've had a serious conversation with him, and just said, look, it's going to be different. They must have convinced him in some fashion or form that it's going to be different. It's going to be something new, and they are going to do better. Because again, and I've already said this in this podcast, it can't be any worse, because that was probably one of the darkest seasons that they've probably had, quite frankly.
After starting so brightly with the new ownership, and there was so much optimism around Fife, and there was a bit of a buzz around Kirkcaldy, and they signed some decent looking players as well. I mean, it just was a tyre fire at the end of the day, wasn't it? But hopefully they'll learn from this season and they'll improve.
The Fife fans seem to really like Garrett Hunt. The rest of the league hate him.
Well, and doesn't that say a lot about him? You know, if the team that he plays for likes him and everybody else hates him, he's clearly doing something right.
I think we all see sort of qualities and abilities in Garrett Hunt that we'd like to see on our own roster.
I think we have. I think he's got shades of David Ling to him, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's tenacious. He won't back down. He's an agitator. He likes to wind the opposition up. Every team and fans of every team would love to have a player like that on their roster. And look, let's face it, he's played at a high level. Yeah. He's going to have a very, very extensive contact book. So he might have some scope there in terms of recruitment next year in Fife, which obviously is helpful because it gives them access to some high calibre players. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, look, he's getting no younger, is he? I think he's 38 now, which is definitely veteran sort of stages of his career. But perhaps he just wants sort of like one big push. He thinks that they can do something special in Fife next year, and he wants to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, we know it's a good hockey hub because the amount of times we've all been there, and I mean you correct me if I'm wrong, Noel, from your perspective, but we've all certainly gone as Panthers fans and seen how difficult a building it is to play in, how how much the fans can get behind the team and make a difference and get a lot of home wins. We've certainly had several occasions where we've left Fife pointless. So we know it can be done. Yeah.
I've never been webcast-wise. I've never been myself.
No.
I'll have to do it myself.
We'll take him next season.
Yeah. You've been sat with the Panthers fans for playoff final weekend, so that's it. You can,
They might need to hoist the ceiling in the elbow room. It's a very low ceiling, isn't it?
yeah. Don't bang your head, mate.
Yeah.
I'll have to sort of work out what my anti-kidnapping phrase will be. Anyway, no, I think there's a couple of things that we don't see what's in the room or what the management are seeing in the room. And if he's really good with the team and he's had an almost assistant coach, isn't he? Didn't he sign as player assistant? So he's had a bit of time to do that. And if they've seen something they like, the other side of it maybe as well, he's, as you say, he's getting to the age he's getting. Is he looking to go into management, coaching, whatever? If you're looking at an opportunity where Fife were what they were last season, that's not a bad way to turn around and say, hey, I turned them into a playoff team, I turned them in, or helped turn them into lower mid-table team if that was to happen. It's a good opportunity potentially.
It's a low baseline, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only way is up, surely. Yeah. It's about the opportunity, isn't it?
If he has sort of intentions to go into that side of the game in some way, then that's a good one to have in your CV, maybe potentially. So that could be his thinking.
I suspect that he was probably already sort of morphing into that in the last few weeks of this season. Because they had a very inexperienced guy behind the bench, didn't they? Running things for the last few weeks of the regular season. So I expect Hunt's been quite influential there in sort of taking coaching and running drills, etc. So he might have got a taste for it and really liked it and wanted to sort of formalise it.
Well, just touch on this might cause a wider discussion, but very, very quickly on the heels of the completion of playoff final weekend, we've already got our first bit of Panthers news, wherein Finlay Ulrich has left the Panthers to go to the Hull Seahawks in the NIHL. So it's a disappointing bit of news. However, I wasn't surprised by it. I think I'd said to the people I sit with and maybe a few of you guys as well, I think it was fairly obvious that the coaching staff had lost a bit of confidence in him because he wasn't getting the same minutes as his line mates, as Betteridge and Kelsall. Betteridge and Kelsall were getting other forwards, other centre, other guys double shifted into his position. So it's a shame, and it obviously has interesting repercussions because it starts the discussion about the British players roundabout, I suppose you could kind of call it, the carousel, because if we've let one go, we've let a Brit go, where is his replacement coming from? Because as we know, we can't just replace him with an import because that's not how it works.
There you are. There's my late playoff finals weekend rumour. Lacko's returning to Panthers.
Is it not how it works? No.
No, this is not how it works. Despite, Belfast Giants, propensity to bring in 3 million bloody university places.
We only register who we register. We just sign another 50 and put them around the world and bring them in when we need them. That's all.
Yeah, waiting in the wings, the Belfast Giants edition. So it does make things interesting, but I mean, we've seen before with previous coaches and previous structures that sometimes there are other leagues. I suppose there are times where we've seen coaches who have been sort of looking at guys who are across in North America who possibly are not progressing their career over there, and so they're going to be returning home and trying to look for somewhere to play. So there's potential that's a direction that Danny Stewart's looking at. Who knows? But we've had it before where we've poached the likes of Luke Ferreira from Coventry, and that was straight out of nowhere. Nobody saw that one coming. So there's definite. That's going to be the most interesting signing, I think. The Brit that replaces Finlay Ulrich. But yeah, as I say, bit of a shame, but I wasn't surprised. I don't know if anybody else has got any thoughts on that. Oh, hello.
Not directly, but just you're saying about the replacement thing. Who's it? Is it Manchester? Or was it Chenian and Francis? You've got that kind of. If the Storm are looking at that sort of thing, obviously they're being proactive and getting that in, so you kind of need to find them. That was something I was looking at a while ago. I can't remember all the ins and outs of it, but if you look at the GB team, most of the ones that have come through more lately, they're under 20 years, are all going away to North America, going away to Europe for maybe a year or two, and then either coming back if they don't go on. So you kind of, that's a bigger discussion about trying to get the progression thing that could take all night, but I'll say that again, tying in what we're saying, like the Storm are being proactive and trying to find these guys and get them in, so everyone's going to have to sort of, as some of these other, sort of the golden generation ones as they call them, are moving on. And getting to that stage, then every team is going to have to be looking at it.
Storm helped as well because they've got their academy as well, haven't they? So there's a pathway there. I mean, we saw they sponsor a few of their players as well. So like I said earlier, I think it'll be interesting off season. I think because I think you are going to see quite a lot of changes, not just the Brits. So obviously, there's aging rosters out there that need to be brought in, and it's sad to see players leave. Finn, it was a good addition to the squad, and he's going back home to Hull with 2 trophies. So happy days and good luck to him.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. We could potentially talk about obviously with there's a heavy ratio of Panthers fans around this table now. I do apologise, but
I am once again surrounded like last year. Just somewhat cornered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you are actually cornered. But I am of the opinion we're going to see quite a few more changes in the squad this year than we did last year. I think there was a big boost and a big high from us winning the playoff finals last year, and I think that boosted the signings quite a bit. But I think, like Ant's kind of alluded to, I think Noel, you touched on it as well. There's quite a few on our roster that have possibly got one eye on retirement and possibly want to go home. There's quite a few with young kids who are getting towards school age who they want to get settled and stuff like that. So personally, I think we're going to see more changes. I couldn't possibly tell you who, although Kevin Carr's busy selling all of his gear at the minute, so I think that gives us a bit of an insight, doesn't it? Really. Anybody else want to sort of come in on that Panthers from a Panthers perspective? Obviously, I'll give you a chance to give us a bit of an overview of your own team, Noel. No.
It's difficult to sort of speculate at the moment, isn't it? Because we don't know. We've only had the one confirmed bit of sort of signing news there. Well,
And it came a lot quicker than we normally get Panthers news as well.
yeah, but didn't Hull sort of sign a batch of about 13 players in one go the other day?
It was announced last week.
Yeah, and everyone's like looking at them going, well, that's incredible, because I don't think we've ever seen a team, in the top two divisions of hockey, sign such a big batch of players in one fell swoop. So obviously Hull are making real moves, and they're sort of showing, real sign of intent to go after that NOHL crown next year. So but like Ant said, good luck to him. Never let anybody down in a Panthers jersey, and he's added some silverware along the way, so that can only help his confidence. So but yeah, in terms of as you call it, the merry-go-round, yeah, fun times ahead. We'll just have to sit and wait and see who the next move is.
I don't know anything. I genuinely. I don't. And
Do you know what?
Nobody tells me nothing.
Yeah, I was just gonna do that. You're like Bill Bailey in Hot Fuzz. Nobody tells me nothing.
No, but this is the thing. You don't. Rumours don't come out of Panthers, do they? You never hear anything, and it's because it's so locked down. I generally I find out when everybody else finds out, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, most definitely. We're not entitled to it. We're not. Yeah. It's not our lives. It's not our careers, jobs, livelihoods, or whatever. It's we are fans, and we do have we do deserve a certain amount of communication from the club, and I don't think we can complain too much about the level of communication that has been coming out of the Nottingham Panthers over the past few seasons. Obviously, specifically since Omar's been in charge, and Chris Ellis has been at the head of the media team. I think that they just continue to do the right things in the right way, and that's all we can ask for as fans, quite frankly.
Gold standard is what Omar said right at the start.
That's standard.
But that's always.
But
that's always going to be the ambition. Is the way it's done, and it's done properly.
Yeah. Not that you're biased, Jono.
I'm just saying how it is.
I know. I'm just. I've got my fishing rod out. It's fine. Noel, obviously, from what we see across the water, you guys seem to have a lot of continuity. Obviously, you've had Adam Keefe for a lot of years, and that obviously, that feeds into the team structure and the culture that's over there. Do you see any big changes coming for the Giants this summer, or is it going to be much more of the same?
It is getting to a point a little bit, because some of our top line, they're all getting, are they 30 yet, or are they around about? You're kind of getting to the point where, I mean, in saying that, JJ Pekinich was the top team of the year and one of the best players footed and all that kind of stuff. So they're still playing at a high level, but this year, I mean, Conway was getting a lot of shots per game but not getting any points, and it was really December, January that line clicked again. Line chemistry is not a given, even if you've been good before. So, I mean, it's hard to say anyone you would replace, but they're obviously going to. Mike Lee, I can't see being anywhere near us, unfortunately, because he's fantastic. But I think you're saying about Adam Keefe, the continuity. It's not just Keefe, it's Rob Stewart, it's George Iwata, it's Jeff Mason. They've been a unit.
And all your other 3,000 coaches.
Just before. Just. But, I mean, they've been a unit for a good while. And I think Mike Lee came in and he was good, and then he was brilliant this year. Going back to Sam Rupp, came in as a very good guy, very good second year, even better. You kind of feel, I think Rob Stewart, maybe as a defensive guy, would have to get a wee bit of credit as well. We seem to be quite good at developing defensemen as they're with us. And then, say, Sam Rupp went off to the Dell, so wherever Mike Lee is, I mean, if he's back, brilliant. But we're going to potentially have to replace him. I say we've done a good job of freshening out the roster and staying at that high level that we've been at. You've got a Brandon Whistle. Will he be back? Will he not? I'd like to think so. I mean, he was playing second line minutes with Sheffield at times before he came to us. So, I think he might be a real important guy to bring back. Again, since previously about the GB guys, as they always have been, sort of important. Jackson Whistles, having a GB netminder has always been a bonus as well. So, it's that sort of thing. I could see it being very similar, and I could also see it bringing quite a bit of change. It just depends how we'll go.
So yeah, lots of uncertainty. But that's kind of what the summer's all about. For those of you that are a little new here, this is the summer. You kind of, you get news or you don't, and you just have to accept it. That's just how that happens. And hopefully your coaching staff are savvy enough to have a team together, and all settled and housed and ready to play by pre-season. So we were kind of all seasoned veterans at this now. Doesn't make it any less exciting when we get signatures and we get to know what the team's going to look like. But yeah, we know what's going on here. So yeah, just ride the wave and enjoy it, guys and girls. Right, just want to dial it back again to playoff weekend. A big core of our playoff finals weekend has been for a number of years the Bunkers Hill. Right back from when Nicky Honorati was running the show, absolutely revolutionised the place, and it basically made Bunkers Hill a victim of its own success. Subsequent landlords have come and gone, and now we've got Jamie at the helm, and Jamie has done an absolutely fantastic job. He's got a good team around him, and they have to be very much congratulated for the party that they have put on this weekend in Bunkers. And I think you're probably most qualified to sort of comment on that, given you've kind of spent your entire playoff weekend in there. Choices were made.
There was a decision made at some point, and then I mean, yeah, it's our home pub, so we're obviously, biased. But you're right. I mean, you can't say anything that you've just not said there. What was it? Somebody posted on their Facebook page, as not all heroes wear capes.
Some of them wear Venom t-shirts.
Yeah, Venom t-shirts and stuff. But no, you're right. I mean, he's got himself around. He's got support. Obviously, Nicky's the area manager now, so Nicky's been there, done it.
Nicky's been there, done it.
T-shirts.
Nicky had been there, done it, and got his entire family involved along the way.
Yeah. So
one year there was t-shirts. Yeah. Cross-check actually made Bunkers t-shirts. I have one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the guys who were upstairs, Ruckus, they actually did the staff T-shirts with the Venom logo on the back. So
bullied me into buying a baseball cap when I was a few pints deep last night.
Well, I mean, you are
engaging me in conversation.
Yeah, well, you are very suggestible after a few pints, Mr. Bullard.
What are you trying to say?
That's a playoff final.
I'm saying that you can be talked around into buying a baseball cap after a couple of pints.
But no, I think last season there was a bit of a nasty undercurrent in and around the weekend, weren't they? I didn't see that at all this year. I mean, there's videos come out that the DJ Dan has put out where all videos it's just Storm fans mixing with Belfast fans mixing with Guildford. Yes, actual Guildford fans were there.
I know there were more than 2 Guildford fans. Well done, guys! You found Nottingham.
There's Panthers fans there, Steelers fans are. Everybody was mixing together, and everybody was having a cracking time. And that's how it should be. It is the best weekend of the year for a reason, not for the bank balance and not for our livers. But no, I think we all deserve a few weeks off now. We're obviously Adam's off to Zurich in a few weeks. So
I've currently got organs on eBay. I think that I'm trying to sell to raise some money to be able to afford one night out in Zurich.
You'll need it.
Well, I'm going to say, not so long ago, the 4 of us spent 36 hours in Zurich, and I think it cost a month's wages, didn't it? So, 36 hours, and we made the most of that 36 hours, guys. But yeah,
days.
£8 for a pint of Green King IPA in the English pub. No.
And that was what, a decade ago?
That's pre-COVID.
Yeah. So go on. Sorry, you were.
No. Okay.
No, that's fine. We'll just have a quick round up before we finish off, guys. So I think generally around the table we can probably say that our teams have had a successful season. Noel has got the benefit of, bragging rights for the league. However, we see your league trophy and we raise you a Continental Cup, my friend, and a Challenge Cup to go with it. So.
You see our league with a T-Terry and a Sabidio Cup. I'm good with the league, thanks.
Very,
very tiny cup.
The one thing I will say is that I think it is clear that given that it was tight for most, you've not had it easy, and I think that there's going to be a lot of teams nipping at your heels. So there's going to be a bit of looking over your shoulder next season, quite frankly.
Bring it on. What we want. No, I'm not even being flippant, but not like it's more fun. You don't want to. Last year, when we literally booked the fly over here at like 10 p.m. on a Saturday with a 6 a.m. flight to come over, like very random as it was, but you want that. You want, if you're going to win it, you might as well. You want the competition. You want to be right at it. I suppose a lot of maybe Giants fans be like, "No, I want to win it easy," but no, the way the league's going, every team's getting better all the time. Some more than others, the way it is. That's just the sport, obviously. But get every team in Manchester kick on, get everyone up there.
Belfast to finish fourth next year. That's my prediction for you.
Hello.
I used to like you.
Give us just a couple of players who've stood out for you on your team and who you'd be very keen to return.
Well, I mean, Mike Lee. That's the easy answer. Actually, there's a few interesting ones. More so, like Jake Kupski. Very, very good circumstances we were able to bring him in. He's been very a wee bit dicey. Gives a wee rare rebound. We just see rebound every now and again. But by and large, he's been exceptional coming in when we needed him, just the right time for Whistle going down injured. So, love to see him back. Jake Cadet in the second line, really exciting player, really good two-way player, I think too. I've really enjoyed watching him play. I'd love to he'd be a good solid kind of building block at centre, because I've always had this theory that for a lot of years we bought wingers and made them centres. Hello, Ben Lake. And we've kind of the last couple of gone down more getting guys who can really play centre, and I think he'd be a really solid one to bring back. As like Brandon Whistle would be an important key kind of cog kind of guy. There's a few that really, you build a team with that sort of thing. I think that's a good starting block anyway. So.
Okay, we'll go around the table, guys. I feel there might be a little bit of overlap as we go around the table. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. David Noel, I want that man back so badly. The only thing I love more than his slap shot is his dog. And genuinely,
hello, Wilson, if you're listening.
Yes. Hello. Please continue to post the content of Wilson, Mrs. Noel. I'm very much enjoying your cute little ball of fur.
I want to see Panthers' social media. Hopefully, if David Noel returns next year, put together some sort of contract that Wilson uses as a paw to put a paw print on. Get that signature. Well, it's not a signature, is it?
It's a paw print. It'll do.
Print
Yeah.
marks the spot, and David Noel is back in Nottingham for another year.
Yeah, most definitely. That would definitely be one of mine. My other one is Matt Marcinio. I think he was fantastic. I think it was obvious that we missed him after his injury in the Continental Cup. For that period which we didn't have him, I was so excited for him to come back, and I would be very excited for him to return as a Panther.
Well, there's no overlap from me because I've got two different choices.
Okay. Hang on. Before we do that, go on.
I missed him out of my fantasy team as well, so I would like to have him.
Yeah, everybody you put in your fantasy team, they're doomed. They are doomed. Yeah, right.
There has been an unnatural number of injuries to players I put in my fantasy team, so if anyone wants any jinxes over the years, just give me a message.
Just keep all the Panthers out of your bloody team, mate, right? That's all I'm saying. Adam, go on, give us a couple.
So, for me, I think Matt Spencer on D is fantastic. I think he's probably the most unheralded D-man in the league. He just eats up minutes. He's played such a responsible game and he's so dependable. So, I'd have him back. And I think we need captain back next season as well.
Captain
Alfaro, because I think we really missed him in the last few weeks while he was injured. I think that he's a different sort of leader to Sam Hare, but he's a little more quiet, a little more reserved. But I think he's an absolute leader. And you look at it, what he does on the ice. Just everything is so high quality and calibre, and any team would miss someone like Matt Alfaro, and especially when he's your captain as well. And I think that really did derail us, with the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come back to you in a second, Jono. I promise. I'm not missing. I'm doing it deliberately. It is deliberate. Ant, a couple of players from yourself.
No, I don't want any of them back. We didn't win the league, so no, whole new team, please. Obviously.
Are we sacking the coach as well? Just so I can be clear.
It's just not. It's not good enough. Third place is not good enough. I made a prediction at the start of the season that we were winning all four, and I'm angry and disappointed that's not been the case.
You are Mark Ashley, and I claim my £5.
But it's tough because you could make a case for each and every one of the team, and I'm being a bit of a politician here, but you always want to see a team upgrade where you can. Everybody's upgradable. We're not talking first line NHL, is it? But obviously my two will be Stridsberg and Lemos. I think Strids has just he's just added that touch of class at the back. It's funny with three separate D-men here, but I think, Teeny, you've already said what you said about Lemos. I think he can do a bit of everything. He'll score clutch goals. He can be a pain in the backside.
Yes, Sheffield, he can. Yes, Sheffield fans behind the net. Yes, he can.
Yeah, if I had to pick two, then I suppose those are the two that are top on my list.
Okay, Jono, you've had obviously a very different view to the rest of us because you've been up in the commentary position.
That's why I have to wear glasses.
Well,
it's a long way up there. You can't see the numbers clearly.
But when you can see the numbers clearly, who's your kind of who have you been most excited to commentate on this season?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, Chase has been great. I've really enjoyed Chase Pearson being at the Panthers, and his social media presence is phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie, but if I have to limit it to two, my first one would be John Bohr. Mm-hmm. I think
that's all four import D-men.
Yeah. Just a phenomenal defenseman for me. Incredible. For me, and I know there's probably a slight bit of bias in this, the best defenseman in the league, and I think he gets very much underrated by fans of other clubs. But from you see it, he's so consistent week in, week out.
The 3-on-3 guys, they all love him. They absolutely adore Garrett. Sorry.
Yeah. So John Bohr and the other one would be the MVP, Tim Doherty. Mm-hmm. I think he's been outstanding this season.
He's another one who just quietly goes about his business, isn't he?
He's top point scorer, scored 25 goals, 41 assists. He's been absolutely magnificent and a wonderful human being on the flip side as well. So those would be my two, and I think an honourable mention, if I may, for Diedrich, who just is clutch at times, that just scores goals, massive goals.
Well, just ask the Coventry Blaze about that, eh?
Not just that, the goal against Katowice in the Continental Cup, which was goal of the season. Mm-hmm. It was
he nearly blew the roof off the arena, that goal.
I mean, just the emotion of that night, and for him to come out the penalty box and score that goal was just incredible. It's been a great season on a personal level for me. Calling my first trophy win for the team I've supported for 40 years was incredibly special. So long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing honourable mentions, then obviously with the departure of Finn Ulrich, I think we need to be looking long and hard at our British players. Ollie Bettridge, Jordan Kelsall, and Josh Tetlow. They are very important. So you can't underestimate. I think with it being Ollie's testimonial year, I think he's been somewhat buoyed by that, and I've seen certainly around the time of his testimonial, before and after, saw a bit of an increased effort from him. No, effort's the wrong word. So increased production from him, I think, and it was great to see. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, those three guys are most certainly very important to the Nottingham Panthers, I would say.
What were you saying about choices overlapping? There wasn't a single one that overlapped.
I know. What's that all about?
Both had Lemos.
No, I didn't have Lemos.
Didn't we? No.
Lemo. Oh, sorry. Yeah, apologies from the commentary box. We're being corrected.
I think you should ask Noel which two Panthers players from this roster he would most like on the Giants roster.
No, because that'll upset me.
Steal. Yeah.
Okay, go on. Well, I'll play. Noel, who from the current Panthers roster would you be very excited to see Adam Keefe steal from us?
Well, obviously David Noel, so I could have many of them on my jersey without it being weird. I'm joking aside, but I actually really kind of like Matt Spencer. I've come some of the game. I watched the Conti Cup streams. I got those. I thought he was at times kind of marauding down and coming out from the back. But I think he doesn't really go too noticed by. Well, obviously you guys, but I don't know that around the league. I like his game a lot. I think I wouldn't say no, especially with, let's say, defence. We might be a wee bit sort of reworking this year. So yeah, I think we won. Up front, I actually do like Marcin probably. Yeah, joking aside about it, I think he's because he's been out in the team a bit, hasn't he? But every time he seems to have been in the team, he's effective.
Well, every time he's been injured, he's come back and scored a goal on his first game. So
not a bad record to have.
No,
so.
not at all.
Yeah, we'll take Spencer and Marcin then.
No, you won't. Gentlemen,
Is that Danny on the phone? Jono's getting a phone call.
He doesn't have my number and I don't have his. So.
This is Adam Keefe over here.
Right, gentlemen, I think we will call that a night. I think we're all about ready to just go home and collapse and just think about our life choices this weekend. Despite that, we'll probably do it all again next year. We will get together sporadically for some podcasting over the summer when there's any news, any pertinent information and anything that there actually might be to discuss. So until next time, have a good summer. Don't get too upset with the departures because there will be some. So, again, if you're new here, gird your loins a little bit and, just let yourself process that. And, we'll do it all again in sort of August, September and, see what next season brings. Hopefully more trophies for those of a Panthers persuasion. No offence, Noel. Good, none taken. Great. So until then, safe travels home to Belfast correspondent Noel Gillespie.
CD.
From Adam.
Thanks, everybody.
From Jono.
Vegetable rights and peace.
And Ant.
Cheers all. Have a good off-season and please, for the love of God, give it a break before you start pestering the Panthers accounts for signing news and what have you.
This message was brought to you by the Cats Whiskers podcast. Fully endorsed. Yes, please give the media guys 5 minutes just to collect themselves before you go harassing them. Right. Thank you very much for sticking with us this year. Thank you very much if you have found us and you are going to continue to stick with us for our podcasting journey. We'd very much like to say thank you as well to anybody who has become a Buy a Coffee subscriber, so we can sort of cover some of our costs that we incur hosting the website and producing the podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. We're so grateful. And if you would like to do so, there will be a link at the bottom of the webpage that we produce this very podcast podcast on. So if you're able to spare us a couple of quid, it would be immensely appreciated, because we don't get paid for doing this, and anything. Adam's very surprised by this. I don't know where you thought you were getting any money from. I mean, you can send me an invoice if you like, but it's going straight in the shredder.
Well, I'm changing my agent because they've been lying to me for the last 10 years.
But anyway, sorry, go on then.
The playoff rumour, Adam Reddish, the 3-on-3 podcast.
No.
Oh, well. I mean, that's a whole new podcast in itself. Yes, again, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Have a good summer. We'll see you soon. TTFM.
Wow.